I remember back when I used to go to primary school. I used to be bored, at least 90% of the time. And it was all because of my teachers that I used to have back there. They just couldn't bring my focus onto the subject that they were talking about. I was rather looking at the time, or I was looking out of the window, basically appreciating the nature, thinking about all the different things that I would do at home, like jump on my trampoline, watch that garbage hyper edited YouTube video, etc. And I just remember my teachers just coming to the class, barely making it through the 45 minutes, basically just giving us homework and bad grades, and they didn't even tell us any stories, any ways of how they actually learned the subjects themselves so that we had it easier. No, they just told us the theory and moved on with our days. And this peaked when I was around 8 years old. Because when I was 8 years old, bro, I had the worst, one of the worst teachers that you can think about. She was stressed as fuck. And she used to take out that stress on me. Whenever I would make the slightest, the most nano mistake that you can think about, when I would slip up, she would instantly comment on it. Like, you know how you sometimes slip up and nobody notices and you just move on with your day? Yeah. Imagine that she's just there, standing, looking directly at you. And she's paying close attention for the next time that she can yell at you for making the smallest, the most micro mistake that you can think about, the smallest slip-ups. She would used to pick up on that, and bro, that solidified my hate for the educational system. Like, how could they let this psychopath teach me? Just imagine the amount of trauma that I got from her. Like, this 40 or something year old woman who was in the same age range as my mom was constantly yelling at me, and I couldn't help myself because I only had one digit of age. Bro, I couldn't even think for myself. I was powerless. And you know how children take that kind of bullying. They soak up everything like a sponge because they are just new to life and they pick up everything from the adults. So when an adult tells you that you're useless or you're stupid because you don't know what 27 times 56 is, then you start to believe it actually. And that's how trauma is born. Now, after I turned 9 years old and she finally stopped to be my head teacher, it didn't stop there. Like, sure, the teachers until I was like 15 years old in my primary were much better than her, but they still weren't the perfect quality that I was looking for. They still weren't the high quality teachers that would, make us motivated to actually learn the subjects. No, they would just constantly yell at us, make us demotivated, and made it look like the only way to actually succeed in life was to continue in the education system and follow the same script that we are all familiar with. Go to university, get a degree, get a shitty job with bad wife and bad kids who don't even love you, retire and enjoy retirement for like 15 years and then die. I still remember how much they used to screech about how useless we were, how lazy we were, and how dumb we were all the time, just because we didn't know some bullshit that we went over like 5 years ago. It was just a shitty situation for both parties involved. However, when summer of 2022 ended, and I finally went to middle school, I met one of my favorite teachers of all time. She was a biology teacher, and bro, she was the exact teacher that I was looking for. I'm not joking when I say this. She was literally the first teacher that actually made me motivated and which actually gave me hope that there was actual potential in the education system. Now, of course, as you can see, I still really don't believe myself when it comes to the education system. But that's because I have my own views on entrepreneurship, and I think that it is way better than to just follow the regular script. But that's besides the point. Bro, this teacher was a complete 10 out of 10 teacher. She was motivating us to actually ask her questions, and she had long-form discussions with us about the subjects that she was teaching. However, all good things must come to an end. And around 1 month ago, we learned that she was quitting the job on our school to pursue her actual job in the capital city of our country. And we were quite disappointed or pretty sad that she was leaving us. So around a week ago, I saw her for the last time and I told her everything. I told her how when she was teaching me, I actually felt motivated and happy to actually learn biology. She actually made me research biology in my free time just because she piqued my interest in it. I told her that she was the greatest teacher that I ever had and that I wished her all the best. I told her also about my dreams of becoming an entrepreneur, and guess what? She was supportive of that. She didn't sell me the same script of, going to university, getting a degree, you get what I'm saying. She even told me that once I get famous, which I will by the way, that I should send her an email, and bro, that just sold me. Instantly, the 10 out of 10 teacher that I always wanted. And so that's when I realized, and really interesting analogy, you see, she was a top 1% teacher, while that one, who was my head teacher when I was just 8 years old, was a bottom 50% teacher in terms of quality and actually learning potential. That's right. I actually graded my teachers based on how well and how efficiently they were at teaching us. And I didn't regret anything. You see, teachers are like rocks, for example. That teacher who was my head teacher when I was 8 years old was just a regular dirt. But this one was a diamond. In every single area of life, whether it's food, whether it's healthy habits and being productive, whether it's your friends, for example, 99% of them are average and they are low quality, but there's that 1% of everything that is actually worth the quality. Like for example, this teacher was a top 1% in quality. The red meat that you eat, that you gain testosterone from, is a top 1% food, and McDonald's is like bottom 40% food or something like that. That random crackhead you see on the street would be like a bottom 30% quality friend. And that one hard-working man who would be your best friend for life is a top 0.000000001% man, for example. And so why did I tell this entire story? Well, you see, the tactics that we are about to talk about will only apply to the 1% of teachers that actually like their job, that are open to any kind of questions. Like for example, you could ask them the same questions hundreds of times and they would still answer you the same. Because like, come on, first, it's their job, and second, do you know how many times they have failed? So the first thing that you have to realize is that whether if you're at school or if you buy a coach, for example, a life coach on the internet, or if you buy a course, for example, you have to realize that they all used to be your age. Like for example, if you have a teacher who is 40 years old and you're like 18 years old, then you can still talk with him like if he's your colleague, for example. He was once the same age as you, and you can ask him all kinds of different questions. You can ask him for all kinds of different life stories that he has. You can literally view him as your friend. That will instantly improve your relationship with him. Like, do you realize how much easier it was for me to study biology when the teacher literally told us the exact tactics that she used to use when she was learning biology when she was our age? It made her look so much more human. And we could also talk with her about life in general and not just school stuff, like with your other teachers. Because when you think about it, since you were young, you've been taught by the 99% of low quality teachers that making mistakes and asking for advice and for life stories is a sign of weakness, and that you shouldn't ask them, when in reality it's a completely natural way to make a mistake and ask for advice. It is completely okay, because when you ask them less questions, they have more time to scroll on social media and message their boyfriends that don't even like them, and to also have a little break from us, because they don't actually do it for the fulfillment, they actually do it only for the money. So for example, when you find that diamond, that top 1% teacher that you've been looking for, who enjoys his job or her job, and which he is really good at it, actually does it for the fulfillment and not because of the money. When you actually start to look at them as your acquaintance, as your colleague, then bro, you have totally won them over, and they will tell you all the different advice for you to advance even faster in any realm that your teachers are teaching you about. Okay? So once you have this high quality teacher who loves his job found, and you're actually taking his classes and he's teaching you, or if it's a life coach on the internet, for example, then you must do the following. If you want to make the fastest progress, you have to ask them questions like a newborn. Basically, how do newborns learn a language within just a couple of months? Well, it's because they ask a fuck ton of questions and they don't feel ashamed. And they even practice everything that their teachers give them. They love to listen to all the different life stories, to all the different strategies, to all the different advice that their elders share with them. And they appreciate every single micro, nano, and picosecond of it. And they ask and ask and ask more questions without being embarrassed. Because asking questions is not a sign of being weak, okay? Is a completely normal human response to something unknown and something that you want to know. Now, as soon as they share their advice with you, you must implement it as soon as possible. That means if you've bought a course on how to play the violin, for example, you must follow their advice to the smallest, to the tiniest nano step that they've told you about. You have to do it exactly by the process that they've given you. And yeah, your ego may get in the way. It will say something like, oh, I don't have to do this small step, I am better than this, I already know this. No. You have to follow their plans, follow their advice, and follow the life stories that they have to the smallest steps that you can think about. Because in the end, it will work. You just have to trust the time and trust the process. Because nothing good in life comes for free. You don't just explode and all the rewards just come flowing in from the first microsecond that you start to do it. No, you have to be patient. You have to go through so many trials and tribulations, and that's okay, because they are right there to guide you through it. They are right there if you need any advice, if you need to ask them any kind of question. And don't be shy to ask them hundreds of different questions. Don't be afraid to fail like hundreds of times, because they went through the same pain also. They want to help you. They won't shame you in the slightest if you fail the first 500 times, because they failed like 5,000 times, because they didn't have, in most cases, the same teachers to guide them also. And why do I know this? Because 99% of the 1% of quality teachers were born from hard times. They have went through so many hard times, so many trials and tribulations, that they are nothing compared to yours. Because if you have a teacher by your side, you're gonna make 10 times the amount of progress in 10 times less time than they have. And here's the best part. Once you do succeed and you rub it in their face and thank them for all the advice and all the services that they have done for you, I guarantee you that will be the time that they give you their finest, their most golden, their most gate-kept secrets that will save you decades of your lifetime. Because once a teacher sees that his advice works, that has to be the greatest feeling in the entire world. So once you do succeed, rub it in their face like there is no tomorrow, like they're some kind of a god that has given you the key to solving any kind of problem, okay? So in conclusion, don't be afraid to ask the 1% of teachers for their advice, for their life stories, and don't be afraid to make mistakes and ask them about what went wrong. And follow their process, the way that they teach, to the smallest nano steps that they tell you to do, okay? And as a last tip for making it this far into the video, just remember to never, ever outshine them. Basically, once you do get your success, you must credit them every single time that you have the chance. Because in the end, they are the reason for why you are up there. You must always give them credit. However, if you've watched all the way until this part of the video, then I know that you're honorable, that you're part of the 1% of quality people in the entire world. I know that you're smart. So once you do get your success, make sure to always credit your masters, your teachers. Once you do eventually surpass them, then you must respectfully compete with them. Meaning that you shouldn't, quote, throw dirt on them. You should still be their competition, but be on friendly terms with them. Because in the end, they have made the mistake for you. I know that us versus them is a strong mentality, but it doesn't work against your teachers. Okay? Once you do start to share their wisdom and teach other people yourself, then don't be afraid of being a copycat, because nothing as copying actually exists. Because when you think about it, each and every single one of us is unique, and so that when you repeat something, you actually use it in your own style. You modify it to suit you, your true authentic version of yourself. So don't be afraid to spread their advice. Just make sure to credit them once in a while when you reach a milestone, for example, and add a little bit of your own authentic self to it. Like tell your own stories, modified to suit the younger version of yourself. You get what I'm saying. Thank you so much for watching this video, and remember, no one is better at being you.